All right, there we go. We are officially underway. And again, for those of you that don't know me, I'm David Spraggs, a customer success manager with DroneSense. Been with the company just over a year. I was law enforcement for about 26 years. I retired as a detective sergeant for the city of Boulder Police and was on the bomb squad for about 13 years and started up our UAS program in 2016. And my agency joined DroneSense in 2018. And when I retired in 2021, decided it was time to go back to work. And I'm just really happy to be with this company. And I'm honored to be here today presenting to you all. So I hope you find this beneficial. Well, let's go ahead and get started. So the agenda, kind of the high level overview today is we are going to talk about the why, this statement of purpose. What is the meaning of this meeting today? And then we're really going to do a high level UAS program management overview. And I really want to have the tenets of safety and accountability be really key statements that we make throughout the presentation today. And then again, of course, this is DroneSense training. We're going to bring back DroneSense into the mix in terms of covering some of these high-level concepts of, records, maintenance, training, incident documentation, pre-flight checklists, and reporting as well. Now, one of the things I wanted to do to try to make this more valuable for you, I mean, listen, this is a community, an incredibly tight-knit, close community, and everyone on this call, I can guarantee, would be happy to help any other UAS program manager. So my hope is that we all kind of develop those connections and again, this community. So what I did is earlier this week, I'm actually covering for Brandon Carr. Brandon is up at a conference in Canada. So as I started putting together this slide deck, I'm like, what do I want to impart to the attendees today? So I ended up reaching out to a number of different program managers and just asked them, like, give me some nuggets. What are some words of wisdom that you would like to impart to other UAS program managers? So this is what I'm calling the words of wisdom bookends. So as we move forward here, the next slide is going to be from one of our key stakeholders, a DroneSense customer as well. But the purpose for today, so I'm going to read this verbatim, to assist public safety UAS program managers in developing the knowledge, skills, and abilities, that dreaded term, the KSAs, to safely and successfully manage their UAS programs. And in hopes of that you're going to see growth as well. Once you get the buy-in, you want to see the growth. Now, again, the caveat is we're going to skim the surface of some really important topics, and we're going to dive deeper into others. And the reason for that is I really just want to plant the seed and give some folks on the call the opportunity to understand there may be concepts they want to circle back to or dig deeper into. So that's the reason that we're just going to have to skim over some of these really important concepts as well. Okay, so the bookend, Jason Day, who I have the utmost respect for. Jason is the program manager for the Texas Department of Public Safety. I'm the customer success manager for Jason, Aaron, and that team. These are the words of wisdom, and again, just snippets from Jason. So from Jason Day, the first decision when building a program is deciding what you are going to use the UAS for. This decision drives all other decisions, including standard operating procedures, aircraft and hardware purchasing, maintenance, and training. And again, this resonates and should resonate with everybody on the call. Safety should always be the number one priority. Sell your program to anyone and everyone that will listen. This is not the time to be humble. You should promote your program through all means possible, including making sure the upper leadership is watching the live missions in progress. Selling your program will lead to buy-in and more money. These are just real things, and I so respect Jason for sharing this. Again, don't exist in your own bubble. And I love this. Coit, this has to be a shout out to you, my friend. Hugs and high fives mean everything. There's a large community of public safety operators to learn from. Don't think you have to do it on your own. This mentality is going to make you much more successful much more quickly. Okay, so as we talk about this, I mean, everybody on this call, and I see some of the names. I mean, there are a lot of experienced folks on the call. Again, the goal here is to kind of reach different strata and different levels of experience for UAS program managers. So, I'm going through kind of my mission set when I was the program manager for the City of Boulder Police. And I'm going to share out some of the mission sets that we used, and I know many of you are using as well. So Again, evidence documentation. I certified forensic photographer. I've taught forensic photography for 20 years. I am very passionate about evidence documentation. And what is a drone? It's a flying camera. So again, this is a unique aerial perspective. And those of you that have been in law enforcement kind of pre-drone days, I mean, think about what we did to capture that unique aerial perspective before we had drones. I mean, it was often calling out your FD, getting up on the ladder truck, and I don't like heights. So we would climb up on the ladder truck, get strapped in, take our photographs with a digital SLR. If there was a fixed wing asset available, we would go up in that. We would get really crazy, creative. Heck, we had about a 15-foot extending boom for our Nikon D2X digital SLR, where we would extend that boom out and had a remote control trigger to try to get the aerial view. So the unique aerial perspective that UAS gives us is so critical, again, to get that deeper understanding of crime scenes for that documentation, evidentiary reporting purpose. Again, search warrants, serious bodily injury and fatal traffic accidents, outdoor crime scenes, both photography and video. Now, I have a slide here, this 3D reconstruction. It says Sketchfab fire scene here. And unfortunately, I could not get the Sketchfab loaded. My agency, we did a lot of Pix 4D modeling and mapping, and we had flown what was believed to have been an arson. It turns out it was an accidental fire. A huge apartment building burned down, and it was the greatest Sketchfab showing that 3D textured mesh. Unfortunately, that model just got taken down, and I don't know why, so I can't share that. And of course, orthomosaics through GeoTIFF or GeoPDF. And these are just photographs of various, cases that my team worked over the years. The right case is an officer-involved shooting outside of our jurisdiction. And actually later in the semester, in the fall semester, I'm really going to do a dedicated class on crime scene documentation. And we're actually going to give some data on prop wash and kind of the required AGL to get separated on various sizes of airframe, so you are not disturbing any of those delicate pieces of evidence on the ground. Okay, as we move on, this is a big one, special events, crowd monitoring, traffic congestion, and I would say this immediate aerial intel and response unit guidance. You are operating the drone, you basically hear a radio call of a medical call, assault, disturbance, whatever it is, that UAS can get eyes on that, flying very safely and quickly to that location. And then however you have your communication set up for that event, whether it's through the air boss, communications person, that information then can get directed directly out to the team in the field. And better yet, that QR code for the magic video link on DroneSense should already and can already be shared out into the field with those operators as well. So sergeants in the field, officers in the field, whatever it is, those units can have the live feed video already. Again, one of our superpowers. And interesting, this is, I had to joke as I was putting this together. These photographs are actually from the University of Colorado. We used to fly all of the home football games. And I should have had a photograph of the stadium because before Coach Prime, the stadium was about half full. You just can't get tickets nowadays. But anyway, medical call on the left, looking at the gate traffic there in the middle. And then again, this was pre-game traffic coming into the show. So just that great aerial perspective. As we get a little bit more creative, we have the overwatch and search and rescue operations. Again, thinking tactical narcotics, search and rescue, urban search and rescue, searching for suspects, canine deployments, the bomb squad and hazmat. And I do have a video I'm going to show you as well. In 2017, when I was still on the bomb squad, we started integrating UAS into a lot of our bomb call operations, and just a great success. And it's such an incredible use case and so powerful. Special use cases. We have customers that are using DroneSense and UAS for shark patrol along the eastern seaboard, mesh network deployment. These drones, we can strap on a mesh network. You can, get that up, fly it downrange. If you've got a drop kit, that can be dropped in an intermediary distance to establish that mesh network in the field. And this is what I would say. I mean, the sky is the limit. Collaborate with local and regional stakeholders. So in Boulder, we partnered with the university, and we partnered with our local wildland fire authority, with our structure fire authority, our local search and rescue groups. I mean, anybody that would listen or anybody that invited us out to fly, we wanted to start to develop our skills in those varied and different types of use cases. Okay. Listen, we like watching videos. I had to put some videos in. Again, it's not too exciting to hear me talk the entire hour. I'm going to go ahead and let this play. These are all, I believe, at 8x speed. So this is one of our drones. This was a Matrice 600 outfitted with a custom lighting solution out of Norway by a company called Luminel. So this is the Division of Youth Corrections facility in Golden, Colorado. They had a violent offender that had escaped. They believed him to be on the roofs of the buildings, and Denver police was unavailable to respond with their helicopter. And rightly so, the fire departments would not get up on the roof to search these roofs for this individual. So they did an outside agency assist. My agency came down. We ended up flying. I think there were 23 or 24 buildings, and we could clear almost all of those structures. There were two or three spots that we marked to come back to that did need to be searched basically in person. This is just a snippet of one of the long videos that we had done. Again, this was an extraordinary lighting solution. It put down, I don't even remember how many lumens of light. We could basically illuminate a football field or a city block from about 400 feet AGL. Um, of course, as you can imagine, there was a weight penalty. We were seeing about 12 to 13 minutes of flight time on that, 24-pound Matrice 600. But it's still, in the right operational cases, this was the perfect use case for a platform like that. All right. This is interesting as we talk about tactical operations. And again, I know many of you are flying indoor tactical or SWAT calls as well. This was a violent offender. Again, this guy had basically assaulted and threatened to kill his girlfriend. She was able to escape. Here, the drone is stacked up right next to the SWAT team or the SWAT team is stacked up at the door. My operator that's in the stack flies in. You guys, this is just a DJI Mini 2 as well. So they entered that scene and basically were able to clear a significant portion of this scene with the Mini 2. But I mean, look at the power of this, right? I mean, you've got officers at the door ready to enter. They don't have intel as to where he is, if he is inside. And again, the ability to fly, a $500 or $700 drone into this building, into this apartment, to basically tactically clear a good chunk of that apartment. And as you noticed, and I wanted to cut it out, I wanted to make sure he was not identifiable in this video. The suspect was passed out in bed. That drone did stay on scene and captured the entire arrest of that individual. So again, just a great use case. And, command staff being able to watch this in real time is just so incredibly powerful. This is a short video of again, a tactical overwatch. This is an older video. Again, this is the Matrice 600, I think made it to the XT2 thermal camera. The suspect had fled. It was a very long driveway in a rural part of the county just north of our city. The suspect apparently fled out the back door as he saw the caravan coming down the driveway, and the drone did locate him in that position, hiding between the shed and the back of the home. In this case, the drone team was able to direct in the tactical units directly to his location. They went ahead and called him out by voice and took him into custody without incident. And again, the power of live streaming these types of operations to command post just really can't be understated. It is such an incredible ability to see that in real time for all of those stakeholders that really should be watching that video. This is 2019. This is outside agency assist, a search and rescue. Basically, it was a suicidal male that had purchased a gun, texted his sister, said he, was going to kill himself. Cell phone pinged to this area, then we lost the cell phone. This was up in the mountains outside of Boulder. The drone did locate him. This was just a Mavic 2 Enterprise. I'm actually going to pause that for just a moment. So the drone was able to guide the ground team up. The ground team was on foot. The drone was in front of the ground team with that spotlight down. as well. We located him and were able to guide in that ground team. And the young man later stated that he had kind of a decision to make. He knew the officers were coming, but once he saw the drone and heard the drone overhead, he decided to give up. He was initially going to run up the mountainside, and he said, "They know where I'm at," and he decided to give up the drone, give himself up because he knew that his position was compromised or he was located by the drone. So again, I think that's a great example. And I went ahead and put in just a short snippet of the thermal video as well. Of course, we captured both in the wide angle and thermal view on this. But take a look. This is, again, we can see from the timestamp, it was, I think, springtime in Colorado. This was mountainous terrain. That's a pretty major hiking trail right there. But take a look at the heat signatures, right? So again, as we know that, what retains heat? Rocks retain a lot of heat. And so this is a little bit more difficult. You can see him there. Obviously, there's the officers coming up, but just interesting to see the relationship between, and I believe that was the human temperature isotherm. And it just so happens the rocks were radiating in that exact kind of radiometric temperature range throughout that night as well. Let's see, I think I've got one more here. This is one that some folks have found interesting. This is training. I will share that with you. This was a bomb squad training day in the summer of 2017, and we were on scene, and they were just starting to lumber off the 800-pound bomb robots. When I said, "Hey, let me send a drone downrange," the team kind of scoffed and laughed at me. And take a look here. So after about 90 seconds of flight, the drone comes in and immediately locates this, again, training device, a RCIED pipe bomb located on a propane tank. And from that point forward, we were taken pretty seriously. That day, there were 10 training devices in the field. The drone found 8 of them, and we were able to guide in the ground robotics, the ground robot, Overwatch. So the ground robot operator was watching the drone feed to help them navigate through that terrain. So again, I just think that's a really neat use case. And I don't want to get too far off of topic today. But as we come in, look, the focus of today is considerations for program managers. So one of the major considerations that all of us need to take into account is the legal and ethical framework. What I have in this slide is really some of the seminal cases relating to UAS case law here in the United States. Again, we do not have time to dig any deeper into this, but as this video is on YouTube, I'm leaving this slide up long enough that I'm hoping that those of you that are unfamiliar with all of some of these cases are going to come back in and research these cases. Now, my strong recommendation is that everybody on this call should be sitting down with their department legal advisor, their city legal advisor, their city attorney, county attorney, whatever it is, and really making decisions prior to a mission of what you believe you can legally and ethically capture as well. Okay, I'm going to leave that up for just a moment here. But again, we have, of course, the Fourth Amendment privacy implications, or Fourth Amendment implications, privacy concerns data protection and retention. And again, I would say discoverability, right? What is discoverable of data that you are collecting? If your policy is to record video, and many of our customers basically require their operators to start recording video when that drone launches. Again, accountability, we want to reduce liability. But what if there's nothing of evidentiary purpose on that micro SD card? It's a search and rescue operation, and the drone doesn't find anything. Is there a reason to retain that? And again, I'm not giving you direction on that, but these are the kind of questions that you want to visit with your department's legal advisor. I can't recommend that strongly enough. Okay, let's talk about pathways to flight. And I know from the names that I see on here, I think we have a lot of established programs. Again, very high level overview. What are the current pathways to flight? We know that we have Part 107, we have the Part 91 or Public Aircraft Operations, and of course we have the SGI process as well. And I know because we want these trainings to build on each other, Coit had talked about the SGI process from his presentation about a month ago for the major event response as well. So under Part 107, we know that the RPIC holds sole responsibility. One of the key advantages of being Part 107 certified is that your operators have what would be considered, a federal standard or a license to operate small UAS in domestic airspace. And I think that's just so important as we talk about safety and accountability and reducing liability, not only for the operator, but for your agency, your city, whatever it may be. And there's a lot of flexibility for those of you, and I see again some folks that would have been doing this at the same time, right? We used to have to write 107 waivers. I mean, we received one of the first 107.29 night waivers to fly in Colorado back in 2017. And again, we have a lot more flexibility. The FAA is adapting to kind of the standard mission sets that we're starting to fly there. I think they're making it easier overall. Um, Public aircraft operations, Part 91. Again, pros and cons to everything. And I'm leaving this slide up long enough you can come back and review this in the YouTube as well. But again, this is what's going to allow you to obtain the certificate of authorizations, the waiver to fly BV loss beyond visual line of sight, whether it's true BV loss or standard BV loss with a visual observer. This is the pathway that's going to get you into kind of that next generation, that next iteration of public safety UAS operations. Again, there's a lot of reporting requirements, the monthly COA reporting, all of that. The agencies are self-certifying as well, that there's no standard in training or knowledge base for that as well. And then, of course, just a quick recap on SGI. For the active incidents, I do recommend that all of you have that SGI number saved as a contact in your phone so you can call SGI and obtain those emergency waivers or allowances to conduct the mission as you see fit during that time. Okay, some of the major components of UAS program management. We have the policy development and implementation. We have resource allocation and budget planning. We have pilot training and certification, and we have risk management and safety protocols. And again, these are all closely intertwined. These are just pieces of that puzzle as well. So the high level recap, right, as we talk about policy development and implementation, this is the strongest advice I can give you. Again, it comes back to what Jason said. This is a community and collaborate. Do not reinvent the wheel. What are other similar organizations doing? What resources are out there? If you are not a member of LEDA, the Law Enforcement Drone Association, I would certainly recommend joining that. Droneresponders.org, for those of you that are on the call that are not members, absolutely join that. It's a nonprofit. There's no cost to join. And one of the amazing things is once you're a member of Drone Responders, you get access to their, I think they call it a resource center or resource database, where the last I checked, there's over 800 program documents from around the country. So if you need to get on and get a COA ideas, or if you are looking for standard operating procedures, a flight operations manual, training manuals, training ideas, anything that you might need, there is such an incredible community willing to help. So definitely use those resources that are at your disposal. The pilot training and certification. Listen, when I started our team back in 2016, they initially didn't want to give us any planned training days, and I actually stated I would not start the team without at least getting one training day a month for the team. So we were able to again get one full day of training for my team. We had 12 UAS operators for the city of Boulder. We were just under 200 commissioned officers. We also got to train at least 2 days a year with the bomb squad and 3 days a year with the SWAT team. And again, that cross training, that interoperability between those special units is just absolutely critical to be mission ready. So push for the training. There's a reason for that. It's safety, accountability, and the argument is reducing liability. The NIST standard, a huge proponent of the NIST standard. The NIST robotics team, just an incredible group of individuals. And again, starting to come up with really, precise flight training for these pilots is just so beneficial, not only for the pilot, but again, for reducing liability and increasing safety within your organization. Risk management and safety protocols. We're going to cover this in just a few minutes on the DroneSense platform. This is absolutely critical as a program manager as we talk about, again, accountability, safety, risk reduction. We need to be inspecting these SUAS platforms on a regular basis, a regular cadence. This is my opinion, is it is not so critical as to what you do, the exact steps, but the fact that you have a plan and a maintenance procedure and a set schedule that is actually completed in a timely fashion. I think that is what's really critical in terms of reducing the liability. And that was a discussion that I have with my our legal advisor for the city of Boulder again, because again, we recommend follow manufacturers' guidelines. Unfortunately, there aren't clear maintenance procedures out there. We have published. Hey, Mike, are you still on? Can you put up the that sample maintenance procedure from the advisory circular from a couple of years ago? If you're able to post that, that would
Yeah,
be
I can post it. Give me just a
okay.
second.
Thank you. Yeah, appreciate that. So again, Mike Trailer on the call with our L&D team. Mike is brilliant. He teaches, aeronautical science at University in Florida as well. And Mike went ahead and put together a sample document that we can certainly share with our customers. We're going to get that shared out with you now. This is not the end all be all. This is simply a suggestion based on FAA guidelines from a 2021 advisory circular that I think gives some good insight into what they're looking for SUAS maintenance. Again, as we get into the DroneSense side, we're going to talk about building that procedure and then how you set a schedule to make sure that procedure is being followed. And then again, FRAT, the flight risk assessment tools. I believe that some of you may have seen I'm going to call it a beta version of our FRAT tool. And it is not readily available yet for our domestic clients. It's something that we on the CS team are working with our engineering and product teams to try to get that pushed out at some point. I don't want to overpromise here at all, but that is a feature set that we know number of our customers want, is having a more precise and a required flight risk assessment tool prior to essentially giving that UAS operator the green light to proceed with the mission. And then again, this is what I'm going to say, and this was really hard because listen, what do we want to do as public safety? And I say we, I'm retired. What do you want to do as public safety? You want to help and you want to contribute to mission success. One of the hardest things for me to learn as a program manager was when to say no. And there were times when we could not safely operate the SUAS in the manner with which the incident commander or the tactical team leader wanted us to complete that mission. So again, I wrote this kind of generic wording after analysis and consideration of all available factors. Say no to the flight if appropriate. And I can't give you guidelines on what that is. Just establish those guidelines with your team based on your hardware and your types of missions that you're flying, but just know that there are times when need to say no if you cannot safely conduct that mission. Okay, and I am
Can I
cooking
speak to
through
that for
that.
just a second, Dave?
Please go ahead, Mike.
So one of the things when I set up my drone team in 2018 that we wrote into the policy is that uh, the responsibility for safety rested with the pilot in command, and they could refuse a mission, but also in the policy that they couldn't get in trouble for refusing the mission for a valid safety reason. Now, part of our flight risk assessment tool that we used was there's mitigating circumstances that, if we could try to mitigate risk and continue, but ultimately the responsibility for the flight was the pilot, and that if it was a no go, even though chiefs and sheriffs don't like being told no, but the ultimate safety and there was protection built in that policy manual. And the example maintenance has been posted as a PDF document in the chat.
Perfect, Mike. Great, great insight. Thank you so much. And I'm really glad you're on the call with us today. Okay, so again, this is a DroneSense basic training seminar. We're going to go ahead and just circle back to DroneSense right now. So, we've talked about all these factors that UAS program managers should be considering. Well, what role does DroneSense play in helping you achieve success with all of these? Again, we've talked about it, safety, accountability, reducing liability. So this is just a few really of the higher level ones that I thought we could cover within the hour. Listen, we're a system of record. And for those of you that have been on trainings with us and that have worked in DroneSense, if you notice, there's something that is like by design missing from the DroneSense platform. There's not a delete button, right? That we have archive, operational or archive status on hardware. You can archive a flight record, but you can't delete a flight record. Again, we want to be that system of record. We understand there's reasons you may not want a flight or something to be visible on your main dashboard or your flight record or your mission dashboard. So we allow you to archive it, but you can always bring that data back to the foreground should you need it. So what are some of the things specifically with DroneSense? Automatic ingestion and tracking of flight records. That is huge, right? One of the number one things that we do is, again, this superpower of allowing a pilot to log into our flight application, 4-digit PIN, pilot's in, the mission's being flown. And as soon as that flight is done, assuming the controller is still connected to internet, that flight record is synced, and it is synced very quickly. And that flight record has so much data to add accountability to your program. And we're going to hop in just a minute. The pilot data, right? Tracking the pilot's flight hours, his or her, the missions, whether it's training versus operational, all of this information you can extract out of DroneSense as well. Incident documentation. We have an incident tracking system in DroneSense I'm going to show you today as well. If there's a safety issue or if you have a crash, listen, hardware fails, electronic speed controllers, IMUs, GPS units, whatever it is, we fly incredibly stable, shockingly reliable platforms, but things can go wrong. And so we have a way for you to document any of those incidents in the DroneSense platform. Excuse me, training records. I think it's a great idea to start maintaining and tracking pilot training and team training in DroneSense. We've hit on this already, maintenance records, custom procedures and schedules, and then the pre-flight checklist. As you know, in the DroneSense application, when you log in along the top, there is what is a red shield with a check mark in it. That is the 10-step pre-flight checklist. That is customizable. I'm going to show you that here in just a minute. And so again, if it is your policy that your pilot needs to do the pre-flight checklist, the pilot will click it. All the steps go from red to green. And I want to be clear, though, we never prevent a pilot from launching. We understand there are tactical or time constraints or reasons why that drone just needs to get airborne. We're never going to stop a pilot from flying, but whether that pre-flight checklist was completed or not is memorialized in the flight card or the flight record of that operation. And then finally, reporting. We're going to hit on some of that as well. So with that, here we go. That's the other bookend. With that, I'm going to hop into DroneSense, and you all should. Has everybody seen my DroneSense dashboard now? Crickets? Crickets, anybody? All right. I'm going to assume so. Thank you, Jonathan. Matt.
They're good, buddy.
All right, man. You guys, you're killing it, man. I needed some feedback, right? Like, it's like talking to a computer screen here. I don't know. I miss the people. Okay. So we are on this dashboard here in DroneSense. And remember, a couple of really high level things we want all of our customers to understand. When you log into the dashboard, now, if you notice what's missing from this dashboard, this is an organization. This is one of our training organizations for the DroneSense, for DroneSense as an organization. Look, we have 5,186 flights. So we basically have turned off the flight record here on the calendar view because there are so many flights and it was just very congested. Most of our customers don't have that issue. There are options should you get to that 5,000 flight list. But just a quick reminder of, since I'm in the dashboard, I've got to show it. The upper right-hand side of the screen is, like I call it the health check, just the quick status of the account, right? So look, we have 145 drones. We have 64 members, 5,186 flights. And look, we have 14 incidents. And remember, we talked about incidents. That is the way to report a crash or an unsafe event or whatever you feel is important for your team to document, again, to have that record for accountability within DroneSense as a system of record. And just remember that these are hyperlinks as well. So we can click on the flights. That's going to take us to our flights and missions page here. and I'm going to come back to the dashboard. Let's go ahead and do this. We're going to undock the menu so you can see everything. I want to show you one example. Again, I'm all about real world examples. So we were new DroneSense customers. Oh, I don't know, back in it was late 2018, if I recall, for the city of Boulder. My team was going out to fly really a rescue operation. It was more likely going to be a body recovery issue. Somebody had gone into the creek a few miles up creek. The backpack was recovered, some other items from this individual. So my team went to a city park and they went ahead and set up and they launched the drone. And right around that time, our dispatch center received a call from, again, Boulder is a university town, from a number of young people that were sunbathing there in the park. And so, yeah, I think it was the fall, October, something like that. Nice fall day in Colorado. So dispatch gets a call. Hey, there's a drone hovering over watching these girls sunbathing. And I'm in my office at the time. I'm hearing all this go out. And listen, I trust my team, but I had that thought like, man, no, right? Like, okay, so I let them fly the mission. Waited. I was logged in. Waited for that flight record to sync. I was able to click on that replay. Again, I'm at my desk. This is minutes after the drone had landed, and I was basically able to look at that flight that had just occurred, and I could definitively say, based on, look at the bottom of the screen, right? We have the gimbal angle, we have all of the live telemetry of that mission, and I could definitively say what that drone was doing every second in flight. And I'll tell you, when I shared that with our command staff, they thought that was absolutely incredible. And I did. I called dispatch and I said, hey, let me follow up with that complaint. And I went ahead and made that call. And I said, listen, I'm, a Detective Sergeant Drone Unit Supervisor. I want to let you know that was a public safety drone on a, official police business. This is what they were doing. They weren't looking at you. I have this replay. I can see it. Would you like to see it? And they said, no, we believe you. But again, that accountability is so important. And I always like to share that story. And some of you on may have heard that from me already. But again, we like to show it. So let's go through some things here. So we're talking about pilot data. Well, let's go through incidents actually. So I'm going to go ahead and come down to safety here, and we're looking at incidents. And as you noticed in this DroneSense East organization, we have 14 incidents. And let's go through this. I'm bearing all of our dirty laundry right out to the world, but this is what it's for, right? That we want to document things that went wrong in the operation. So let's figure this out. Frequency test. Is there a good one to share here? Let's take a look. CAL FIRE training, bird strike. Let's take a look at this. So 8/12 of 22, we had a bird strike, red-tailed hawk, nest on southwest corner, marginal. Let's take a look. So we have all of this information archived, and this may be for training. I don't know if this actually happened or not, but this is really the point of that incident. So let's just walk you through creating an incident. So from the safety tab, once you're logged in at web.dronesense.com, go ahead and click on Create New Incident. Now you're going to name the incident whatever you think is appropriate. Again, completely up to you. Now, for our seasoned DroneSense users, this should feel familiar. We're very team driven, and that is super critical for a lot of our larger organizations that have many, many teams, and they operate in a really specific hierarchy in the DroneSense platform. Many of our smaller 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 drone customers, they have one team, but again, you still need to select that team. So name the incident, you select your team. Here we'll select all, date, the report type, and we have some really good drop-down information, right? Hardware, human error. This is real, you guys. Operators make mistakes. The joke is it's not a matter of, if the drone is going to crash, it's a matter of when. Of course, we want to mitigate that to the best of our ability. I'll share with you that my team had, well, I'm going to share with you. We had 2 drones over the years that I was the program manager, 2 drones that crashed into trees during Pix4D mapping missions. And so, I ended up buying a piece of hardware that would help us to safely determine the height of ground-based obstacles. Like there are ways to overcome this as well. But the frequency of occurrence here, description, and then we have a severity table. to help guide you into kind of the level of severity, likelihood of damage, the human factors involved, recommended actions. And then again, we're basically having you link out to report post-incident reporting. Does the NTSB, were they contacted, the 107 report, COA report, anything like that? Now it's clear, I want to be clear that we do not directly link to those types of federal reporting agencies. This is an internal only reporting system for DroneSense for your team. Okay, we are going to move on. Let's talk about training records here. So let's take a look at what we have in this organization. And there's so many cool things that customers are doing here. What we did in Boulder, let me come down to it. One of the key trainings that I think is so beneficial to track is going to be the Part 107. So here we have a Part 107 certification. What do we have? 16 members of our team under this 107. And this is great because you can set up under admin, under notifications. Here we can scroll down. And for training, we can basically set up these email alerts. Do you want to be alerted 4 weeks before somebody expires? So there's so much you can do there. So let's go ahead and come in. I just want to give a very brief example of how to create that new training in DroneSense. Like everything, it should be very familiar. We have a blue action bar, I call it, in the upper right hand side. I just made that up. I don't think that's what it's called. But we click on this bar in the upper right hand side, add new training. You can name it. These are all ones that are pre-populated. We're going to say, let's say, oh, the team had training this month. So April UAS team training here. Again, which team? In this case, we're going to select all. The training type, you can name this whatever you want to. We're just going to say, let's say flight training, the granting authority. This is going to be the agency. Now, the start date and the end date. Okay, so in something like this is a training that occurred previously. Let's say this occurred on, oh, I don't know, let's say it was Tuesday, April 2nd here. There's no training. It doesn't expire in this case. And we can put in a full description. UAS team spent the day, conducting sample search and rescue operations. We tested mission planning and DroneSense. We did, whatever the team did for that day. And then we create that training. And then we can go ahead and assign members into that training to document, to have that system of record, that accountability of who attended the training and what they did. Should there ever be an incident where you need to have any kind of a legal defense or anything where you need to supply documentation to a court of law or a legal advisor or the federal government or the state, having this data is invaluable. And I just really encourage everybody on here to start using this functionality in the DroneSense platform. Let's go ahead and let's see, we've got about 12 minutes left. I want to hit on maintenance. Let's get into maintenance here. And here. So I am behind on maintenance. I'm going to be totally honest. So I've got some maintenance that was due, it looks like last week on my Mavic 3 thermal. Now, this is a training environment, although I do consider the maintenance to be legitimate maintenance procedures that maybe need to be conducted. I just have duplicate in there. You will not see this. But we have upcoming, we have expired. I'm sorry, we have ones that were completed. So these were all completed. Mike, I think that was you. Well done, sir. I am behind. And then we have future. So red is overdue, black is completed, green is future. So in this case, we ship all of our DroneSense accounts without anything pre-populated. There is no pre-built procedure. There is no pre-built schedule. This really falls on the agencies to do this. So please, if you haven't, go ahead and click on the if you don't have a procedure in place, go ahead and click on that document that Mike uploaded as well. Get into the Drone Responders Resource Database and start looking at what folks are doing here. I think all of Texas DPS's documents are on there, Austin, everything else. And then at the very top, I did post in the chat as well, you all, that Google Drive. This is the PCERT. There's tons of great information from Ramon Lewis, one of my incredible coworkers here. And Ramon is happy to have everybody have access to this Google Drive with just a plethora of useful information and program documents as well. So What we do, and again, if you have not built this, you're not going to see anything populated. So you have schedules and procedures and then history. So there's a couple of different ways to navigate. We can get from point A to point B in a few different ways. For me, I'm going to go ahead and click on maintenance procedure. Now, again, if you haven't built any, it's going to show nothing. So you click on add new procedure. You're going to go ahead and name that, and think about how you want to do this. Are you going to do monthly? Are you going to do flight hours? Do you want a level one, level two, level three, whatever it is? But at the very basic, let's say you want to conduct a monthly inspection of that hardware. So we're going to call this just monthly, basic monthly. Again, you see the pattern. There's a team. We're going to go ahead and select, in this case, all teams. Type, we want to select what it is because you can build maintenance procedures for the drone, the battery, the sensor, the equipment. Now, in this case, we're going to do drone. Estimated time. These are pre-populated. You put in whatever you think is appropriate. Let's go ahead and say 30 minutes. And then literally here you have steps, and you just put in whatever you want to put in here, whatever is appropriate based on manufacturer's guidelines, based on what you want to use. You just start putting in the steps. Now, it's important to note where it says checkbox mandatory right there. So here, if I want step one to be mandatory, I want to make sure that box is checked and is active blue. So we're just going to say step one, description, step one, add item. Simple as this. Step two, add item. And we want to make sure that this is checked as mandatory. So again, go through, it's very simple, build this maintenance procedure. You can enter a description in the notes field, and we're going to save that maintenance. And you do have to put a description in, it is not optional. So we're going to say basic monthly. There we go. Okay. And we're going to save the maintenance. What did I do here? This is great. You guys get to learn through me. Let me delete that. Okay, there we go. You just can't have a blank one. Makes good sense. We don't want there to be a blank maintenance item. So what we have done, if we come back to maintenance, we have a procedure. This is the basic monthly. I just built the shell of this. It can be 5 steps or 10 steps, whatever you want to do. At a very minimum, what is the purpose of maintenance? We want to inspect the hardware, the airframe, inspect the props, run your fingers, look for chips, gouges. I do the prop flex, the prop attachment onto the motor. Are the legs, are the cabling, is it pinched? Is it eroded? Is it damaged? All of these things, again, do it for batteries. Battery swelling is huge. We want to make sure the batteries aren't swollen, but go through, come up with that checklist, updating the DroneSense app, updating firmware, all of those things that you want to do to make sure that it's safe and ready to fly. That's where you build it in the procedure. Once you've built a procedure, you're going to come into schedule, and you are going to create the schedule of how you want to use the procedure. Okay, so we have a lot of different ones here. I'm going to go ahead and walk you through adding the new schedule here. And again, the name, we're going to call this the basic monthly team. See the pattern. Who should perform? Go ahead and select the individual that should be assigned that job on this particular maintenance schedule. And again, you can add one or multiple drones. The cycle type, this is critical. What's the trigger for this? Flight hours, battery cycles, flight count, calendar. Well, listen, we've called this the basic monthly. We're going to say this is calendar. We're going to say this is drone. Now, look, we're creating this. This is the schedule. We need to go back to the procedure. And again, in this case, we're going to say it's the basic monthly for this webinar today. We're going to save that. We want to now go through and select the hardware. And so you can go through, we've got 145 drones here. Let's see, we've got some of David's. Here we go, my Phantom 4 Pro. Let's add in some of my hardware right there. And we're going to save that. I'm so sorry, and I did not do this at all. So we're going to come back to, we know that the trigger's calendar. So we have 1 month, and then when it starts, and we'll just go ahead and select today. Okay. So very quickly, we have gone through building the maintenance procedure, building the maintenance schedule. Now, the cool thing is in this cycle of DroneSense, basic training webinars, we're going to do a deep dive into airbase. And this is part of airbase. But I really believe the adult learning model of just having repeated exposure to something helps us go from passive knowledge to active knowledge. So my hope is you're going to see this again, but we want you to get into this and start using this in the DroneSense platform. Now, listen, I am almost out of time. I want to show you the pre-flight checklist. We're going to come back into safety here. And on the top, we have incidents, flight assessments. Again, you are not going to see flight assessments. This is a beta that is basically activated within our training environment, but you're going to see incidents and checklists. Now, let me go here, right here, the DroneSense pre-flight checklist. This is the single checklist that is going to be pre-populated for all of our customers. This is how you, as the UAS program manager, can come in and customize that checklist. Now, it's important to note there's only one checklist available within the DroneSense mobile application. So you can have multiple checklists here, but it has to be activated. So the activate checklist is going to be the checklist that is used for your organization. So you could have multiple, but again, only one checklist can be active at a time. But you can come in and edit, modify, or delete the 10-step process that we have established for you to better match your operational needs and guidelines. Okay, finally, in the last few minutes, I want to talk about reporting very, very, very quickly. So some of the great things, how do you track who's flying what in DroneSense? There's so many different ways to do it. So look, I'm going to come into Operations Hub. One of the things that I really like as you start to think about this, we're so mission focused in Operations Hub. So take a look. Here we have all of these different missions. So what I recommend to my customers is think about your mission set. How are you going to be flying? What missions are going to be flying? Is it going to be search and rescue, tactical overwatch, crime scene documentation, search and rescue, urban search and rescue, wildfire assist, structure, like whatever it is, start to build those long-lasting missions in your mission manager. And then when the pilots go to that mission type, they're going to join that mission type. And the cool thing is now when you come into flights and missions, if you come over to the missions page, so for example, let's take a look at DroneSense Training Ops 2024. So we've got 90 missions, right? We see that great heat map of where all these missions are happening. But what is really cool is, look, we have all of the flights that are associated with that mission type. So if you have the SWAT team leader saying, hey, how many SWAT missions have you guys flown this year? Your team flown this year? You'd be like, hey, Commander, give me just a second. I'll let you know. It's very easy to come in here under the mission and do this. Remember, you can export that PDF. It is processing. It takes a little bit of time. You can click View Document. That's actually going to take us to the resources page because that's going to drop into resources. We're going to open that document and stand by here. Sorry, let me come back and let me refresh this. Okay, download document. There we go. And this is that wonderful mission report for the DroneSense Training Ops 2024. You've got all this information dropped into a really clean PDF as well. So listen, we are so close to the end of time. I'm going to come back in to the slideshow. Let's go ahead and get back live in this. Okay, and I really want to share Pete York here. If you have to drop, I totally understand. Hang with me. We're going to go through this in about 60 seconds. Pete York is an incredible program manager for the CAL FIRE UAS team, one of the biggest in the nation. So this is what Pete says. You are not going to have your policy and procedures correct until you exercise your program. So don't write yourself into a box until you have data. The caveat is you need to be out in front of this with something, draft form, to manage and defend the programmatic risk involved with that thought process. I mean, Pete is just saying be flexible as you start to design your program documents and your system of operation for UAS. And I love this. Crawl, walk, and then run. Do not scale faster than you can support. We identified this early on, and still, I think we came close to having real challenges. This also refers to the mission sets, and remember recurrency training. Make sure your team is well trained on the types of missions that you are going to be flying. That is just absolutely critical. And again, I love this statement: under promise and over deliver. Develop a training program that involves more than just stick wiggling. Airspace is king. become a student of aerospace and how to operate in it. UAS is a risk reduction tool. Don't increase the risk with the utilization of that tool. That's a really key point. Again, thinking about mixed airspace, flying over people or through people, mission sets that increase operational risk, which in turn increase the programmatic risk. And those are just words of wisdom. Again, those are my bookends. We had Jason Day on the front, Pete York on the back of this presentation, and both just two highly regarded UAS program managers. And I so appreciate their time and willingness to share. Okay, we are winding down. We're right at the very end. Of course, it's DroneSense. We have multiple QR codes. I'm going to go through this quick. Team, anybody that's on still, go ahead and scan that QR. This is my contact information. Happy to speak with anybody. DroneSense is an amazing team. We work so well together, and you can always reach out to any of the team members here, certainly on the customer success side. Okay, next QR code, the DroneSense Facebook users group. I think we're up to about 1,100 individuals in this group. Again, I'm a moderator now. Coit, all of the CS team and learning and development. We try to stay on there almost daily. Great resource for the team. Okay, now 2 more QR codes, really important. Please scan the QR code to fill out the short form to receive the credit. Now, we've changed the way that we've been doing this. This is actually going back to how we used to do it. So please, if you would like to receive the certificate, go ahead and scan this QR code. Let that page open up. You can come back to it and fill it out. Go ahead and get that submitted. I'm going to try to be more timely in getting the certificates out as well. For those that were in 2 weeks ago, you probably noticed I just sent the certs out this morning. So my apologies there. That is 100% on me. Okay, final one. Please review this basic training. This is, again, that online survey. We're a data-driven company. We truly want to provide training that is useful and helpful to you, our valued customer. I've got thick skin, so please give me an honest assessment of the training today, something I could have done better, anything you all would have liked to have seen in this training. With that said, thank you so much, everybody. Stay safe and have a great day. Take care.